The water flows black and cold. It is the confluence of three rivers: the Danube, the Inn, the Ilz. On the surface, the Bavarian town of Passau looks like a storybook illustration. Medieval towers rising through the mist, church bells echoing off wet cobblestones. It is beautiful. It is silent, but silence is a container. We are looking at the year 1892. We are looking at a child. He is only 3 years old. He plays in the dirt near the riverbank. He looks like any other toddler in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Pale skin, blue eyes, a mother's devotion wrapped around him like a shield. But we know the end of this story. We know that 50 years from this moment, this specific biological organism will orchestrate the industrial slaughter of millions. How does a human heart calcify into stone? Evil is not a sudden explosion. It is a slow, methodical construction. It starts here, not with a shout, but with a whisper, not with a weapon, but with a feeling. Welcome to the autopsy of a soul. The geography of a childhood shapes the architecture of the adult mind. For this boy, the world is defined by a single sharp line. Passau is a border town. It sits precariously on the razor's edge between the German Empire and Austria-Hungary. It is a place of collision. It is 1892. The air here hangs heavy with moisture and the smell of coal smoke. The boy stands at the window of the customs house. He is too young to understand politics, but he is old enough to feel tension. To live on a border is to live in a state of permanent us versus them. On one side lies the stability of Bavaria, on the other the chaotic mosaic of the Austrian realm. The river Inn, white and gray, acts as the physical barrier. The child watches the water. He watches the ships pass. He observes the rigid rituals of the crossing. Nothing moves freely here. Everything must be checked, categorized, stamped, and approved. This is his first psychological imprint. The world is not an open field. It is a fortress that must be guarded. The streets of Passau are narrow and winding, trapping the fog. The architecture is imposing, Baroque cathedrals that demand submission, towering over small humans. The boy walks these streets holding his mother's hand. He is small. The world is gigantic and threatening. In this environment, safety is found only in order. Chaos is the enemy. Psychologists analyze this early period as the formation of a siege mentality. The boy learns that danger comes from the outside. The border is not just a line on a map. It becomes a line in his brain. Those inside are safe. Those outside are suspect. The sheer physical presence of the customs checks, the uniforms, the barriers, it teaches him that authority is the only thing that stands between survival and anarchy. He absorbs the damp cold of the river. He absorbs the silence of the town. There is no laughter in these memories, only the visual texture of gray stone and dark water. He is an observer. He watches the adults speak in hushed tones about what crosses the river. He learns to scan for threats before he even learns to read. The border town does not nurture a child. It trains a century. The seeds of extreme nationalism are often planted in these liminal spaces where identity is always under pressure. Here, in the shadow of the cathedral in the customs house, the boy's reality is split in two. There is the German blood and there is the foreign water. The distinction is absolute. The door opens and the atmosphere in the room changes instantly. It is a physical shift in pressure. The air becomes thin. The light seems to dim. A man enters. He is 55 years old. The boy is 3. The size difference is not just biological, it is theological. To the child, this man is not a father. He is a titan. He is a god of wrath. Adolf Hitler wears the uniform of the Imperial Customs Service. He does not take it off when he enters the sanctuary of the home. The uniform is not clothing. It is a second skin. It is blue, stiff, and adorned with gold buttons that catch the lamplight. It signifies the state. It signifies absolute authority. The boy looks up. He sees the high collar. He sees the meticulously groomed mustache. He sees the eyes that do not offer warmth, but inspection. The psychology of the household revolves around this singular figure. When Alois speaks, the world stops. He does not request, he commands. He whistles for his family like he whistles for a dog. It is a sharp, cutting sound that demands immediate presence. The boy learns to freeze. He learns to scan the father's face for micro-expressions of anger. This is the training ground for a lifetime of hypervigilance. The father sits. He lights a long pipe. The smell of harsh tobacco fills the small room, choking the air. No one coughs. No one complains. The mother, Clara, moves silently, serving him with the reverence of a terrified acolyte. The boy watches this dynamic. He sees the person he loves most, his mother, make herself small. He sees the person he fears most, his father, expand to fill the entire space. A dangerous equation is being written in the boy's neural pathways. Power equals distance. Power equals fear. To be strong is to be like the father, cold, uniformed, and unquestioned. To be weak is to be like the mother, loving, submissive, and frightened. Alois is a man obsessed with status. He was born illegitimate, a nobody, and he has clawed his way up to a position of minor bureaucratic respect. He guards this respect violently. He demands punctuality. He demands silence. Any deviation from his rules is met not with understanding, but with swift corrective force. The boy is not yet the target of the beatings. That will come later. But he is the witness. He watches the violence inherent in the system. The uniform represents the only thing that matters, legitimacy. The boy stares at the gold buttons. He hates the man, but he is mesmerized by the authority the man wields. He learns that a man in a uniform is never wrong. A man in a uniform defines reality. If the father says it is night, it is night. If the father says you are worthless, you are worthless. In the evenings, the only sound is the ticking of the clock and the puffing of the pipe. The silence is not peaceful. It is heavy with the threat of explosion. The boy sits in the corner, trying to be invisible. He learns that visibility is dangerous. He retreats into his mind. He builds walls. He begins to despise the weakness he feels in his own small body. He looks at the father and thinks, one day I will be the one who commands. One day I will be the one who makes the room go silent. The physical structure of the home acts as a pressure cooker. We are inside the walls now. The house in Passau is not a place of rest. It is a museum of silence. The rooms are dimly lit by oil lamps that cast long, flickering shadows against the wallpaper. The air is stagnant. It smells of beeswax, boiled cabbage, and the lingering, acrid scent of the father's pipe smoke. It is the scent of submission. The boy navigates this space like a ghost. He learns the geography of the floorboards. Which ones creak, which ones are silent. To be heard is to be noticed, and to be noticed is to risk an interrogation. He develops a softness in his step that is unnatural for a child of 3. He is practicing the art of disappearance. Dinner time is the central ritual of the day. It is a ceremony of tension. The family sits around the heavy wooden table. The father sits at the head, a dark anchor pulling the room down. The mother sits to the side, her eyes fixed on the plate, her hands trembling slightly as she passes the bread. There is no conversation. In the Hitler household, speech is a privilege, not a right. The only sounds are the mechanical noises of eating, the scrape of metal spoons against porcelain bowls, the tearing of bread, the heavy swallowing of the father. The boy eats methodically. He keeps his eyes down, but his mind is not at the table. This is the crucial psychological pivot point, because the external world is unbearable, gray, frightening, and controlled. The child retreats inward. He begins to construct a fortress inside his own skull. In this internal world, he is not small, he is not weak, he is the architect. He creates landscapes where he is the hero, where the buildings are marble, not wood, and where the crowds cheer, they do not scold. Psychologists call this dissociation. It is a survival mechanism, but in this specific brain, it is becoming something more dangerous. It is becoming a delusion of grandeur. The contrast between the humiliating reality of the dinner table and the glorious fantasy in his mind creates a permanent fracture. He begins to value the dream more than the reality. He begins to believe that the world outside is wrong and the world inside is right. The clock on the wall ticks. Tick, tock. It is the soundtrack of a stolen childhood. The boy stares at the flame of the oil lamp. He is fascinated by the fire. It is the only thing in the room that is alive, unpredictable, and capable of destruction. He watches it dance. He feels a kinship with it. While the father dominates the physical space, the boy begins to conquer the metaphysical space. He is learning that if you cannot fight the giant with your hands, you must invent a universe where the giant does not exist. The house by the river is where the dreamer is born. But this is not a gentle dreamer. This is a dreamer who will one day demand that reality bend to fit his nightmare. If the father is the hammer, the mother is the cushion. But a cushion can also smother. We turn our lens now to Clara Hitler. She is the opposite of her husband in every way, soft, anxious, and deeply tragic. To understand the dictator, we must understand the vacuum of the father, but also the excessive gravity of the mother. Clara lives in a state of perpetual mourning. Before this boy was born, she watched 3 of her children die. 3 small coffins, 3 burials. When this boy, her 4th child, survives the winter, he does not just become a son. He becomes a miracle. He becomes her redemption. She treats him not as a biological organism, but as a fragile porcelain doll. She hovers over him. Her eyes track his every movement, filled with a terrified love. If he coughs, panic rises in her chest. She wraps him in layers of wool, protecting him from the drafts of the river. She feeds him the best cuts of meat, even when the family is struggling. The psychological impact of this dynamic is profound. In the living room, under the gaze of the father, the boy is worthless. He is a nuisance. He is nothing. But in the kitchen, under the gaze of the mother, he is a prince. He is the center of the universe. Clara whispers to him. She tells him he is special. She tells him he is destined for great things. She builds a pedestal for him to stand on, high above the mud of the border town. This extreme oscillation between absolute worthlessness and absolute divinity fractures the developing ego. The boy learns that he is either a god or a worm. There is no middle ground. There is no concept of being an average human. Psychologists identify this as the root of pathological narcissism. The child absorbs his mother's anxiety and her adoration. He begins to believe her propaganda. He believes that he is unique, that he is fragile, and that the world owes him protection. Her love is a shield, but it is also a cage. It prevents him from developing resilience. He does not learn to cope with failure because she never lets him fail. She intervenes. She soothes. She excuses his tantrums as the sensitivities of a genius. The boy looks at Clara's face. It is pale, weary, but her eyes burn with devotion. He learns to manipulate this devotion. He learns that if he performs the role of the victim, he receives love. If he performs the role of the special child, he receives power. He is drinking in the belief that he is the chosen one. The father teaches him hate. The mother teaches him that he is too important to be hated. It is a toxic alchemy. The Messiah complex that will one day tear Europe apart is being stitched together here, in the tender, suffocating embrace of a grieving woman who loved her son too much to let him be human. The boy leaves the sanctuary of the house. He steps onto the cobblestones of the residence plots. It is a cold afternoon in Passau. The square is a stage where the social hierarchy of childhood is performed. Here, there are no uniforms, but there are rules. There are the strong and there are the weak. There are the loud and there are the silent. He stands on the periphery. He is dressed in clothes that are slightly too formal, slightly too clean, his mother's doing. He watches the other children. They are rougher. They are louder. They chase a hoop with a stick, screaming in the local dialect. They are a pack. The boy wants to join them, but he does not know how. The skills required for play, compromise, vulnerability, equality, are foreign to him. In his house, there is only command and obedience. He does not know how to be an equal. He steps forward, perhaps to touch the hoop, perhaps to say a word. The pack stops. They look at him. They see the stiff collar. They see the serious, unsmiling face. Someone laughs. It is a sharp, jagged sound. It cuts through the fog. In a healthy mind, this moment is a sting. It is a normal part of social learning. But in this mind, the mind of the border, the mind of the prince, it is a catastrophe. It is a declaration of war. He does not cry. He freezes. The shame burns hot in his chest, but it is instantly converted into something harder: contempt. He tells himself that he does not want to play. He tells himself that their game is stupid. He tells himself that they are the inferior ones. This is the moment the observer becomes the resenter. He retreats, not in defeat, but in a self-imposed exile of superiority. He walks back toward the house by the river, his back stiff. He decides that if the world will not accept him, he will not accept the world. This is the crystallization of the victim mentality that will define his entire life. The logic is locked in. I am good, they are bad. They reject me because they are jealous. They reject me because they are blind. He rejects the concept of shared humanity. He begins to view other people not as individuals with their own lives, but as props in his drama or obstacles in his path. He returns to the kitchen. His mother is there. She sees his face. She offers him cake. She tells him he is too good for those rough boys in the square. She validates the delusion. The wound is bandaged with arrogance. The scar tissue forms, but it is not skin. It is armor. The boy sits by the window, watching the river flow into the dark. He is alone, and in that loneliness he begins to dream of a world where no one dares to laugh. The family will soon leave Passau. They will move to Hafel, then to Lambach, then to Leonding. The scenery will change, but the psychological blueprint is finished. The boy is 5 years old. The raw materials have been assembled. We have seen the ingredients: the borderland paranoia, the terrified awe of the tyrannical father, the narcissism fed by the smothering mother, the social alienation of the solitary child. The rivers of Passau, the Inn, the Danube, the Ilz, continue to merge today, just as they did then. The water is indifferent. It washes away the footprints in the mud. But history is not water. It does not wash away. It accumulates. We tell this story not to humanize a monster, but to deconstruct a mechanism. Adolf Hitler was not a demon birthed from hellfire. He was a human byproduct of specific, replicable conditions. He was a broken child who was taught that power is the only currency, that love is a weakness, and that the other is a threat. The monster is gone. The man died in a bunker by his own hand while the world burned above him. But the mechanism remains. The silent dinner tables, the bruised egos, the fear of the outsider, the hunger for a savior in a uniform. These things are still with us. Look around you. The conditions that created him are not extinct. We study the darkness not to dwell in it, but to recognize it when it returns. If you want to understand the machinery of history, if you want to see the warning signs before the fire starts, you are in the right place. Subscribe. Share this archive. We must remember, because the past is never dead. It is not even past.